Hello and welcome to MPP Hot Seat with Ibrahim Ababou. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Fidele Ndahayo, who is the CEO of Rwanda Atomic Energy Board, a public institution with the mission to promote the peaceful use of nuclear energy for sustainable socio-economic development of the country, aligned with the National Strategy for Transformation and Vision 2050. Rwanda Atomic Energy Board coordinates all research and development of nuclear energy activities in Rwanda and have the prerogative to establish partnerships with national, regional, or international entities in the field of atomic energy. Welcome, Fidele. It's a real pleasure to host you today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be invited to this platform.
Thank you very much. My first question is, can you share with us the latest development regarding Rwanda's nuclear power program?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. What I can say at the beginning is that Rwanda has a nuclear science and a nuclear energy program that has two components. One is a nuclear power program, and another one is a research reactor program. And for these two programs, we are in the phase of conducting the feasibility studies. For the nuclear power program, we almost completed the pre-feasibility study that involved the siting. We have already 3 potential sites in the country where a nuclear power plant can be constructed. And we have all rough estimates of the project, what it can cost, but it's a rough estimate because we are still working with many assumptions. And we expect that this pre-feasibility study report will be validated in May this year. So regarding the research reactor program, we are conducting a feasibility study. The site is already available. We have already conducted the preliminary site survey, the geotechnical and program to see whether the site fits, can host the nuclear research reactor. So we are expecting to conclude this feasibility study. We will be having the final report in June, but its validation, I think, will go up to August this year.
That's great. And so for this research reactor and the nuclear power plant, it will not be on the same region or in the same site, right?
No, it's not the same site. They cannot be on the same site.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a different site. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm aware that, as you mentioned, that you have been working toward SMRs, and there have been some developments lately, right? Can you develop further about that demonstration nuclear reactor you are planning to have in Rwanda?
Oh, yeah, you are talking about our partnership with the dual fluid energy.
Yeah.
So this is an activity actually that falls into the research reactor program,
Mm-hmm.
because we are partnering in the research and the development of new power reactor technology. So the dual fluid energy has a conceptual design that we are working together in refining that design so that it can be approved by our regulator. And then we will build a demonstration to test the principle of the technology before we start working on the prototype, because it's a new technology working on the liquid metal fuel, and which is cooled using lead. And since this is it has similarities with molten salt reactors, but it's not molten salt reactors. That's why we need first to test in a laboratory setup whether we can reach criticality in this design. And this laboratory where the criticality demonstration experiment will take place, the laboratory will be actually hosted in the research reactor complex we are working on. So it will be on the site where we will have the research reactor complex.
I see. I see. So it will be part of the research reactor program. And to
Yeah,
go back
it's a research and development project.
to,
So, and as you know, in research, you can do research and get successful results. Then you continue building the technology. But if the results are not successful, then you sit down and improve on the design so that you have a good design. And again, you start. So that's why this partnership actually falls into the research and development rather than nuclear power program of Rwanda.
yes,
Of
yes,
course, later on, when the technology will be available at the market, and Rwanda as a country will be in need to build another nuclear power plant. So we will be in a better position to consider that technology, and the technology can be will be easily accepted since it would have been developed locally using our engineers involved in the development of technology. So we know more about the technology than any other person.
yes. And to clarify to the audience, because I see a lot of confusion about that, people from news reporting that that's your partner for your nuclear power program or for your SMR program, but it's not the case. You are working in
It's not
partner.
the case. Yeah, it's
Like it.
not the case. I wanted to make it clear because in the media they miss the two, and they create confusion.
Yes,
So we are partnering with Dual Fluid Energy to test in a laboratory setup their technology. So once the results are successful, then we will go further and with them build a prototype reactor that will also be tested in Rwanda. Then we gather all the information about the technology, the reactor. That information will be used so that the product can be put on the market.
yes. Thanks for the
Yeah.
clarification. And going back
Yeah.
to the Nuclear Research Reactor program, even though you mentioned a little bit about it earlier, but to get more, or can you elaborate more about it? What has been done already, and what are the current activities you are conducting regarding the research?
On that site, we will have a multipurpose irradiation center. On one side, we can sterilize medical equipment. On the other side, we can do food irradiation for agriculture purpose. And we will be having also the biology laboratory, where mainly we will be conducting crop breeding by mutation, and that will help us actually to develop varieties in agriculture that can resist to climate change and be used in different research laboratories around the research reactor.
I see, I see. And my last question is about this year, as we are in 2024. This year is an important year for your nuclear power program, as we have been hearing from this interview. There are many milestones coming in this year. So, what are your expectations for 2024?
Oh, yes. Yeah. That question is very interesting because in Rwanda, our planning year starts in July and ends in June. We haven't yet finished this year, actually. And the next year's activity starts July 2024 up to June 2025. And Actually, we will complete all the studies in this year, and then we have on the plan a next step that will follow. Of course, we will finalize the policy and the law and the regulatory framework. We will finalize this so that all the nuclear policy and even the nuclear law and the strategic, the country's strategic plan are approved and validated, and we start implementing them. And then we will conduct the environmental impact assessment for the research reactor project, because we have conducted already the feasibility study with the designs. So next is the environmental impact assessment. That will be is planned for next year. Then for the research, for the nuclear power program, we plan to conduct what we call the strategic environmental assessment, so that because we have a pre-feasibility study report that indicate different sites, 3 sites actually, where a nuclear power plant can be constructed in Rwanda. Then to be able to choose, to narrow down from 3 sites to 1 site, so we'll have to conduct some further analysis, and that will help us take decision. And that strategic environmental assessment also is part of that exercise, where also we will contact our neighboring countries for their input, because the concerns are beyond the limit of our borders, and even the water bodies that are going to be used sometimes are shared by other countries. The roads by which nuclear fuel can be actually transported from the supplier to the site. Also, those roads pass across different countries. So all these countries need to be consulted, and their concerns need to be addressed, so that our programs is implemented in a transparent and safe manner for our neighbors.
Indeed, indeed. And nuclear,
So
if
those are the main activities, but we are also continuing to build the capacity in terms of human resource development. So we are actually sending people, students, to be trained, so that by the time all these facilities I talked about are ready, we have enough manpower to operate and maintain this equipment.
yes, and it's very important to have a well educated workforce that would be able to handle the nuclear power plant when ready, and not just the nuclear power plant, but all the aspect that we'll be doing with the nuclear power plant. So from engineering to all the work activities that will be happening. And you mentioned
Yeah.
something very important is the regional aspect of nuclear, even though it's one country decision, but it will be affecting the whole region. So it's crucial to consult all the neighboring countries before the nuclear power plant is operational.
Yeah, that's very important. And it is even more important in our African countries, where the average population thinks of nuclear energy as being meant to produce nuclear weapons. So there is that misunderstanding, and we need to make sure that neighboring countries are aware of what we plan to do and how we are going to do it, to show them that the way you are doing business is safe, not only for us, but also for them. And just to make to understand that nuclear energy, nuclear plant, or nuclear installations are cannot be regarded in the framework of one country, because the effects actually in terms of accident will affect not only the country but also the neighboring country. That's why it's very important to involve neighboring countries as stakeholders.
Yes, indeed. Thank you once again, Fidel, for this fascinating interview. And something that I would like to emphasize on is I keep hearing the international community, not everyone, but few people from the international community saying that in Africa, there is a lot of talks about nuclear, but nothing is being done actually. But from what you just mentioned, from all the activities you're planning to have this year, and also what you have done, that's a clear statement showcasing that all those programs, or at least in Rwanda in this specific case, is being conducted in a efficient way and in such a manner that the project is going forward. It's not just about talks about nuclear, but it's indeed actual work that have been done and is Rwanda doing at the moment toward their nuclear power program.
Yeah, thank you. We are following all the steps necessary to establish a nuclear power program. And I think, okay, there are some countries that started long time ago, and the programs were not implemented for many reasons. And some of the reason actually may be even be traced outside those countries, because so there are a lot of influence, a lot of influences in this nuclear energy sector. I think some reasons can be traced back to that situation.
Indeed, indeed. And to close this interview, I would like to applaud Rwanda's for its. To be frank with you, it's great to see Rwanda's uniqueness regarding the how you are planning for your nuclear power program, as you have identified your preferred technology early on, which is SMRs, compared to other countries in Africa which are considering both. So that would allow you to speed up a little bit the process compared to countries who are considering technology size, if I would say. And to close this interview, I would say that 2024 seems to be a pivotal year for nuclear in Rwanda, and I'm looking forward to it. So for our YouTube viewers, feel free to leave your comments on the box below and stay tuned for next episode of MVP Hot Seat. Thank you very much, Fidel.